This Lego version of events seems more plausible than what we're being told about right now. As the United States has a new story to tell about allegedly a soldier rescue operation that they are now toting themselves on, as a lot of people are saying, wait, hold on. Did it actually happen? As I think there's some new questions arising right now with the official version of events that we're going to be looking at here. As of course, these new theories I think are worth explaining, since we have literal governors using fake AI images to report on it. What really happened here is we sent in how many aircraft? How many miles did he walk on a sprained ankle? What's going on here? As of course, we have a former CIA analyst coming out and saying that this story doesn't add up here, as the Iranians now are claiming that this was a failed invasion that just didn't work out here. Now, there's some interesting takes. My take is a little different than everybody else's here that we are going to delve into and talk about here. As of course, there's a lot of things very comparatively to what happened with Jessica Lynch, if you remember that story during the Bush administration, which was a major propaganda operation that was an outright lie. Is this what happened here? We're going to examine that and talk about it from a critical perspective. If you appreciate that, subscribe. Click the notification button. We greatly appreciate all the time that you spend with us, as I think this story is absolutely worth talking about. Now, the White House is patting themselves on the back. And listen, if the official version of events are true here, incredible, amazing, and a very important message to the world that we leave no man behind, as the White House is repeating that line, saying no man left behind, in a video showing one of the kind of aircraft that was also used here during this operation that was shut down. Americans sent a huge number of troops, rescued them, no one died, everything went hunky-dory, everything went fine. There's a reason to question that, since, of course, this administration really hasn't been that upfront with what's really going on here. Satellite images are being denied. Reports of troops being hurt here are delayed, as there are crazy videos coming out. And now there is going to be a hunt for the person that leaked information to the press about a second aircraft being hit here. Who's really telling the truth here? We're going to get into it, because I have a very nuanced perspective on this, as we have the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, retweeting a fake AI photo, right, of this mystery man pilot that, according to the official version of events, walked 110 miles on a sprained ankle in one day. As Greg Abbott says, this is so awesome, retweeting, of course, fake news, which is an AI-altered version of this. In the making of this video, we don't know exactly who this man is. We don't know the exact kind of details here that contradict what was going on here. As some people are saying, 155 aircraft on a rescue mission? As people are saying, that's not typically what kind of happens here. What were the circumstances that made the United States send 155 aircraft flying for 48 hours to evacuate 2 pilots? Well, listen, we don't know exactly why that decision was made. We do know that a number of aircraft were destroyed because of allegedly wet sand. The official version of events, according to international reporting, the British Broadcasting Company came out and looked into the details of where it was shot down, where the rescue operation happened, as it looks like that this soldier walked 110 miles with a sprained ankle. As this guy was identified as a colonel, right? He hid in a crevice on a hilltop. And now we're also getting a lot of footage like this showing what was previously American aircraft a part of this rescue operation. Now, it is standard procedure, instead of leaving gear and craft and American tech, you blow it up so the enemy doesn't get your aircraft, right? So that does make sense here. But a lot of this kind of tells me the same story of the Jessica Lynch story. Glenn Greenwald, I was just thinking it, and then Glenn tweeted about it too, saying, at the start of the Iraq War, the U.S. government claimed a heroic soldier, Jessica Lynch. I remember this story. The story is this brave woman. Her convoy was attacked. All of her compatriots lost their lives here in this fierce gunfight. She took and went on and was on top of a Humvee with the machine gun firing until the last shot. She took out all of them, and then they captured her, and then they were torturing her in a prison, and she was a hero that stood up and fought till the last bullet. She was a brave, strong, independent woman. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a pretty strange story. The real version of events was a little different. It was just the exact opposite of that. As of course, there was a gunfight. Jessica Lynch hid underneath the Humvee. After the gunfight, the Iraqis kind of came in. They got her to a hospital. They called the United States, like, hey, we got your soldier here at the hospital here. We're taking care of her. American Special Forces come in, blow up the hospital. Rescue operation. Bow, 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 bow. Shoot it up. Take Jessica Lynch, and they're like, okay, now here's the propaganda lines. You're going to say you were on the machine gun turret. You were fighting until the last bullet. You were imprisoned, and then we rescued you from your evil captors. She's like, okay, all right. And then she later came out. She was like, yeah, it was all a lie. Is that what happened here? The government did this before. Would they do it again? We're going to look into the evidence here a little bit more strongly. Before we do, just really quickly, we wanted to remind you about these cartoons that allegedly depict what's happening. But in reality, we wanted to tell you about WeAreChange.shop, where you get a lot of incredible, awesome, great supplements that help you out tremendously. As, of course, our first supplement was ashwagandha. Because imagine just being fat, bloated, not having any motivation, not having any kind of strength, not having any testosterone, not getting the proper restful sleep, feeling dreadful, feeling sleepy. Ashwagandha helps you deal with all of that and combats a lot of very serious things that people are dealing with, especially with people who are dealing with a lot of stress. Lots of people, cortisol levels through the roof. Always get blood tested. Always talk to a medical professional before putting anything into your own body. But cortisol is the stress. Stress is the killer. Stress is the thing that fries your brain, destroys your gut, makes you look awful, makes you look horrible, makes you fat. Ashwagandha is an adaptogenic herb which reduces stress and anxiety, lowers cortisol levels, improves sleep quality, helps you deal with anxiety, helps you get deep, restful REM sleep. I take it with the last meal of the day. 1 month out of the year, I cycle on and off. You're supposed to cycle on and off of it. You usually don't see people who sell it to you be like, hey, yeah, cycle on and off, which you should. Dr. Andrew Huberman did a huge deep dive into this. I watched all of it. I studied all of it. I decided to take it, and it helped me out with my journey, as well as other things that I started doing for my own health and longevity, because I don't like feeling tired when I wake up. I don't like being all fat and not motivated and having low testosterone. I want high testosterone. This thing helps you with it. There's also a lot of anti-inflammatory effects, metabolic, heart health, physical performance, cognitive support. This stuff is awesome. WeAreChange.shop. Get it while supplies last. Lots of stuff is selling out. Why? Because of the global disarray that's happening here. We're trying to get as much supplements as we can right now because we're all selling out. Lots of stuff is selling out. Ashwagandha's selling out. Get it while supplies last before global disruptions, because this is something that I take during high stress moments. I think we're going to be dealing with a lot of high stress moments, so prepare accordingly. WeAreChange.shop. Check it out. Win-win for everyone, and can't recommend it enough. Just do your own research. Talk to a medical professional before putting anything into your own body, and make the right decision for yourself by going to WeAreChange.shop and starting your own research. Now, the Jessica Lynch story here. As, of course, we heard in 2003, she was fighting to the death. And again, they were just lying, right? And there's a lot of lying. There's a lot of propaganda stories. As now we're hearing that the United States allegedly lost 12 planes here. As people are saying, maybe it wasn't a rescue operation. Maybe it was an operation that intended to storm a nuclear power plant to steal their stored uranium. That failed, and now they needed a cover story to look like they didn't fail. And strategically, like hypothetically, We haven't seen any smoking gun proof of this. There's no evidence of this. But hypothetically, wargaming this, it makes a lot of sense, especially if you're trying to win hearts and minds, right? Especially if you're dealing with a public that doesn't want this conflict, which overall the vast majority of people in America just do not want. We're tired. We want lower gas prices. We want to take care of the American people. We don't want our money being spent bombing water desalination plants and bridges of the Iranian people. Like, we just don't want that. We want Americans to be taken care of. That's what we want. Now, if there's a story of like, hey, guys, yeah, we lost some troops. We tried to do an operation. We failed. That's not going to support your war effort. A rescue hero story is going to support your war efforts. So, hypothetically speaking, this kind of questioned theory of this official version of events does add up, especially when you add in and you factor in how there were a lot of top generals fired before this. Hypothetically, speculating here, top generals that are saying this operation's crazy, we can't do this. They got fired, they go through it, they fail, they have a cover. That makes sense, right? As right now, the official Trump is talking about how U.S. forces rebuilt helicopters in under 10 minutes after a rotor came off, allegedly. People are saying that's kind of crazy. Mike Adams says, what happened this weekend in military terms translated into, quote, Hollywood, is that the Pentagon tried to pull off an Ocean's 11, but actually ended up with Now You See Me, one of the dumbest movies ever made, where all the on-screen magic is achieved with edit cuts and nonsensical plot twists that defy rationale, kind of like, quote, Trump. Now, again, this administration doesn't have the best type of rhetoric here, right? Doesn't have the best messaging with this conflict that's contradictory to itself every other day. It's like, yeah, we're ending, but we're just beginning. We've won, but we're not negotiating. We're going to open up the Strait of Hormuz. We need NATO to open up the Strait of Hormuz. NATO sucks. We don't need the Strait of Hormuz open. What? And people kind of highlighted the timeline here. As March 3rd, Trump says, we won the war. We're in April 6th. We're in over a month. We're in week 5. We defeated Iran. Quote, we must attack Iran. March 9th. The war is ending almost completely and very beautifully. March 11th. You'll never like to say too early you won. We won in the first hour. It was over. March 13th, we won the war. March 14th, NATO, please help us. March 15th, if you don't help us, I certainly will remember it. March 16th, actually, we don't need any help at all. March 16th, I was just testing to see who's listening to me. March 16th, if NATO doesn't help, they will suffer something very bad. March 17th, we neither need nor want NATO's help. March 17th, I don't need congressional approval to withdraw from NATO. And again, just continues. Like the timeline here is just wild, right? And it just contradicts each other. And the messaging here has been off, and it leads to a lot of the confusion and a lot of the kind of lack of trust here from this administration. As the CIA director came out and talked about this kind of deception campaign to fool the Iranians who are, quote, desperately hunting our airmen. And of course, the CIA is always known for being very honest and always telling the truth. They're always the trustworthy guys. They're always the very upfront, very. They never fool us. As Patrick Holloway says, the U.S. military doesn't even have to reveal all special forces debts to who even knows the real casualty count is in this war. Not to mention all the taxpayer treasures lost. A sad tale that never had to happen, as the rescue operation downed around, some people estimate 400 million. Again, who knows if that's the actual number, as a lot of people are saying, look, we're just not buying the story because this administration has a very big messaging problem where clearly there's some kind of inconsistencies here. As we have Larry Johnson coming out, a former CIA analyst, talking about how, hey, C-130s don't have injection seats, right? And he's saying that some of them exploded midair. Now, I think there might be some confusion, as of course, some people are saying they crashed into the ground. I think there's also a possibility that they landed and that they were escaping. They couldn't escape because of maybe, like, let's just say hypothetically their version of events is true because of what's that? They're like, okay, throw in the grenades. throw in the explosives because we can't let the Iranians have our C-130 airplane, and we got to blow them up. So that's also another possibility here. This is what he had to say on the Mario Nafal show.
In the rescue operation, you're saying there could have been deaths with the...
You're being lied to, Mario. You're being lied to. Look, a C-130, just as a side note, I was hired by Hollywood to be a consultant on the first A-Team movie. And the script writer in it had the A-Team rush the cockpit of a C-130 and strap themselves to the pilot seat and hit the ejection button. And I had to tell him, I said, boy, that's really creative writing, except there's only one problem. You don't have ejection seats in a C-130. It's a hard shell aircraft. So when that thing exploded and crashed into the ground, and the video on that's not AI generated, none of the crew got out. So there were deaths. The Pentagon is lying. They're covering it up.
But from what I understand, the C-130 was blown up by the U.S. forces in the rescue operation to ensure enemy forces don't take control of it.
That's the story the Pentagon's putting out. That's what you keep getting fed, frankly, all this bullshit from the Pentagon. They're liars. They lied about the KC-135 that went down some weeks ago. They claimed that it had crashed midair. It got taken out by a missile.
You're talking about the two KC-130, the shadow tankers that...
There's also another question about the American aircraft carrier that allegedly was taken down because of a laundry fire. A lot of people aren't buying that either. And of course, as I said, during the beginning of this conflict, there's been a big effort. Unlike the Ukraine war, where we're getting a lot of updated information in real time, we're not getting any of that with the Iran, which is highlighting how there could be a possibility that this conflict is going far worse and it's far more expensive and it's far more costly, especially in lives, than we actually know about it. I think that's a real legitimate possibility.
Look, the story we've been given, it's a lie on several fronts. What that F-15 was doing up in that area, what was its mission? I think it was involved in preparation for a ground attack.
And it looks like that's potentially what was going on here. As that's what the Iranians are saying. Candace Owens came out and says, the more that is coming out about the pilot rescue, it's looking like a massive disaster of a failed operation that the Pentagon is lying about that had nothing to do with rescuing a general. Independent journalists need to prod this Top Gun narrative. This may explain why Trump was enraged on Easter and demanding an end to satellite imagery. Right? That's not good. All right, because it's all the satellite imagery that allows us to kind of really understand here as the general public. Now, people are saying a full bird ejected from an F-15E and just suffering a sprained ankle and then walking 100 miles in under 48 hours to be extracted from a mountain range by a C-130. As people are saying, can't wait for the Hollywood dramatization of this. Netflix is probably going to do a special on it and make him black. Trump talked about this. Now, again, is there a possibility that the official versions of events are true? Yeah, but they're being kind of contradicted by kind of logic, right? Who's telling the truth here? There's still a possibility that the official version of events is true. And if it is, okay, great. We rescued a soldier. There could be a possibility, again, alternatively, I like to think of all the straw man, steel man arguments that this official version is true. Trump's like, I don't care. We need to save lives. Send them all in. Send as much as you can. Now, theoretically, though, that's like endangering a lot more people behind enemy lines with the Iranians having all these drones and have shown the capabilities to shoot down craft, as they shot down a lot of craft Friday that we've heard of. And now we're going after the people that are talking about this, that are leaking information to the press saying, hey, our stuff's getting hit here. That doesn't bode well to the official version of events here. 155 aircraft, 4 bombers, 64 fighter jets, 48 refueling tankers, 13 rescue aircraft. You're risking a lot of service members to rescue, because there could be a scenario. It's very risky to do this. Why? Because there's a bigger possibility that another fighter jet might get shut down, that someone else needs rescuing. Other people make the argument, no, you need to overwhelm them with force, and that's exactly what happened here. As a lot of people are saying, you don't need a C-130 loaded with tens of military troops for a rescue operation. Definitely Some people are saying, well, maybe you did, right? As a lot of people are saying, this was a bigger operation, it failed, and this is the cover for it. And again, theoretically, we don't have any proof, but on face value, it does make sense, especially with how this administration has been doing this. Now, there's also a lot of unconfirmed reports. I haven't been able to verify this. Of allegedly the Iranians finding an ID card of a Major Amanda of the U.S. Air Force that suggests that she was there as a maintenance technician. Right. That allegedly she was there. Allegedly, this was one of the passports found of a mechanical engineer that specializes in nuclear technology. I have not been able to verify this, and it's also important to note there's a lot of fake news out there and a lot of stuff that is just made up, right? The Iranians also use deception. They use fake AI videos of them showing their bombing campaigns of all over the Middle East that are not true. Is this a disinformation campaign, or is this actual legitimate? I don't know. Is the government telling the truth? I don't know. Do they have an invested interest to do a bigger operation here? Yeah. If that operation goes well, would they lie about it? Yeah. All right. Do we have official confirmation and proof? No. Now, the Iranian foreign minister says this was a cover trying to steal the enriched uranium, which didn't work here. All right. And that would make sense, especially with such a huge scale here. And my spidey senses are kind of telling me that this is kind of like a Jessica Lynch story. Do I have any proof? No. I don't have any evidence. I have my thesis here, looking at what everyone's kind of talking about here from a more logical perspective. Now, who is this person that was rescued? I mean, you would think that they would just bring him out and do parades and like bring him out to the White House. If the official version of events is true, I'm happy he's safe. But I need a little bit more from the government to reassure us that they're telling the truth here. And I think that's a reasonable cause here. Now, Viva Frey says the fact that they extracted the pilot without turning into a Black Hawk Down 2.0 is a miracle and accomplishment. Now, again, we don't know if that's true. We don't know if they lost more lives or they didn't, because there's a lot of people that are it's just not being reported. Destroying the equipment that they were forced to leave behind so it does not fall into the hands of the enemy is also the smart thing to do. Yeah, I agree. We know what flack we all gave Biden for leaving equipment behind. As for how you feel about this war in general and the risks of having military get down behind enemy lines because of the war is a different and broader discussion. And I agree with Viva's Frey on it, Viva's take on it, who says they just shouldn't be there. But if this official version of events is true, it is impressive, it is miraculous. I just need a little bit more evidence from the government here, as now Trump is threatening media with jail because they leaked information about this down to airmen. Now, also, steelman this, if there's people in the military leaking that these guys are getting shot down and they were supposed to leak that, wouldn't they also leak potentially that this was a bigger operation? Now, the fact that Trump wants to arrest the people publishing these stories, and they go after like major journalists, they like break down their doors and go after their signal chats and break their encryption. And they have done that before here, especially with the Venezuelan story that happened here. As, of course, controlling the narrative is absolutely important. Do you believe this narrative? Do you believe it's true? What do you think actually happened here? Let me know down in the comment section below. I need a little bit more evidence. Honestly, spidey senses, I think this is Jessica Lynch 2.0. Do I have any proof of that? No. The government could disprove, and I think they need to combat a lot of these kind of serious questions that are asked here, just to clarify them. Can the government clarify them? Or are we just going to tell everyone to shut up and arrest everyone who's reporting on it? That, I think, will be telling of what's actually going on here. Thank you again for supporting WeAreChange.shop. Thank you so much for getting our actual content. We're going to need it. We're going to need it. I want to be here if it wasn't for you guys doing that and subscribing and sharing this video. And this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more, all here exclusively on youtube.com/WeAreChange.